Here we are in the Indo-Pacific Basin, in Malaysia, preparing to dive in the crystal clear waters of the island of Sipadan, which has been named Turtle Island and has been declared a natural park due to its deep seas, where we can find the largest variety of species from tropical seas. The reefs contain an ecosystem unlike any other in the world, and it's a privilege to be able to dive with the Deep Blue video team in a reef that is in perfect shape, untouched by man. Here, the key to the flourishing life is its clear waters and the intense light that reaches to great depths. It's an infinite aquarium, the perfect home to the millions of species of all shapes and sizes, a rare show of life and colour. For our trip along these reefs, we have the perfect guide, a beautiful example of one of the most representative species in this environment. We will be enjoying the company of a green sea turtle, a magnificent creature, perfectly adapted to the aquatic lifestyle, who with its elegant swimming will guide us through the beautiful reefs of Sipadan, one of the places in the world that it has selected to lay its eggs. It directs us out to the immense open sea, where throughout the whole year the temperatures oscillate between 21 and 32 degrees centigrade, the perfect temperature to find hundreds of reef fish. Scalefin antheas, yellow-striped cardinal fish, glass-eyed snapper, damselfish whitetail, all feeding on the plankton carried in the current. These constantly moving groups stop momentarily as their meal is interrupted by a group of speeding long-faced emperors, and then quickly everything goes back to normal. This frenetic coming and going continues along the lush vertical walls of coral and sponges that cover the reef. Apart from schools of fish, there are also solitary fish that live on the island. For example, the golden spadefish, who let the small firefish goby deparasite them. Or like this blue-faced angelfish, which is solitary by nature, patrolling its territory where it feeds on sponges and invertebrates. On the reefs, it is common to find schools of fish that are very still and close together, using this strategy as a form of defense, like the school of Pacific dog snapper, who group together, taking on the form of a much larger fish. They're very well organized and relieve each other at the front, whilst they filter and eat the plankton that is caught in the current. Meanwhile, the turtle is scratching along the corals to remove the barnacles and limpets that have become attached to its shell. It also takes advantage of this to find a snack between the cracks of the coral, and shows us another fascinating animal, a giant clam, who shows us his fascinating insides without any modesty. It's the largest bivalve in the world, Gigantesco mollusco, that can reach almost 2 meters in length, and in its adult form can weigh up to 250 kilos. When they open their shell, there are various large triangular openings that allow us to see inside, where it has some startling tubes, with which it absorbs water and filters the food. In the marine habitat, each species has a certain role to play. For example, the parrotfish, which with its almost 50 variations, performs an essential task in the natural cycle. It's a fish that shares traits with land-based herbivores. They change the territory with their feeding habits. The colourful parrotfish rips and chews the dying coral, but crumbles it, searching for its food by stirring and pushing like a drill, and blowing to clear the ground. Then, after having digested the food, the remains are expelled from its intestine, in the form of very fine sand. To get an idea of how productive the parrotfish is, marine biologists have estimated that a colony can produce up to a ton of coral sand per hectare per year. Another fish that shares similar feeding habits to that of the parrotfish is the Desjardins sailfin tang. Here we can see one of the 50 different species that populate the tropical seas of the world, eating the remains of a sponge, which is one of their main food sources. This colourful variety is endemic in the Western Pacific, and apart from algae and some sponges, they also eat substratum, filtering fine coral sands which eventually forms the seabed, which is where this small goby lives, buried, sharing its space with a lismata shrimp, almost as big as him. It's a clear example of symbiosis. While the shrimp offers to clean, the goby protects the shrimp, warning it from predators. This titan triggerfish is easy to confuse with the other 50 species of parrotfish that live in the Indo-Pacific. This is one of the biggest and most robust of its species. Its jaw is capable of taking your finger off. The turtle is taking a break and goes up to the surface to breathe. Males, like this one accompanying us, always live in the water. They never tire from swimming and can last a long time without breathing. During his break on the surface, he attracts a group of golden spadefish who escort him to take advantage of any food leftovers or simply the organic waste from the turtle. We dive back down again through a large school of adult dog-toothed tuna, hunting as a group and using their different strategies. While some attack the side of the coral wall, the rest go after the fish that abandon the protection of the coral. In the distance, something that isn't easy to see, a group of green humphead parrotfish that leave behind a trail of fine sand, the remains of their digestion. Always in large groups that throughout the day patrol peaks of the reefs at a shallow depth, eating live coral, gnawing and absorbing the tissue. After digesting it, it also becomes coral sand. It's the biggest of the parrotfish, with some adults reaching 1.2 meters in length and weighing more than 40 kilos. We dive again to new depths, guided by the turtle towards a school of black snappers, which are very similar to young tuna. And above us, there's a large school of barracudas, a fish capable of attacking if it feels threatened or in danger. More than its bite though, we have to be wary of its sharp mouth, which it uses as an arrow when attacking at great speed. The turtle guiding us is male and almost an adult, approximately 25 years old. Scientists believe they can live to be 80 years old. It's born on land, but now it will never leave the water. Only females leave the water to lay their eggs on the beach. They're solitary animals, and it's rare to see them grouped together like this. Usually when they group together, it's normally males and females during the mating season. The rest of the time, the males swim alone. It's easy to confuse the green turtle with the hawksbill turtle, especially when they're young. This species is defined as green, not because of its carapace, but because of its skin. Our guide shows us his oval-shaped shell with its typical brown colour, with yellow patches, and his flat beak, with two characteristic plaques between its eyes. As we dive the reef, and keeping a safe distance, our turtle shows us one of the regular inhabitants of these waters, a reef shark. Always in constant movement, searching for food in its territory, which hides among this beautiful garden of sponges and enormous table corals. Our turtle also keeps a safe distance, although these sharks essentially feed on reef fish, who move aside as the shark glides through, and then hide among the corals. An enormous hump-head rat gently swims across us, and above, almost at the surface, we see an impressive school of barracudas. The turtle has a rest to scratch its shell and show us an octopus on the rocks, camouflaged among the colourful sponges and coral, moving with the current and changing its tones to match those that surround it as it moves away. Fish don't need this camouflage. They spend their time in a hole, eating what passes close by, like this yellow-edged moray who stares at us from the safety of its cave. Once again we see the octopus, moving from its static camouflage to find a new refuge, showing us its beautiful and stylized form of swimming and its fabulous capacity to adapt. We leave it in its new home, with a strange and immobile guardian, a stonefish, who stares at us, reminding us that it is one of the most poisonous species on the reef. The diversity and abundance of these reefs makes Sipadan one of the 10 best preserved areas in the world. Its beautiful and colourful corals and anemones are teeming with life, hundreds and hundreds of species, all in a fight for food and survival. From the clownfish to the crabs living with the anemones, and this dark, solitary leaffish swaying in the current. Or this yellow one, imitating the sediment on the bottom. While we enjoy these surroundings, we see our turtle very still, next to another male. Both are wary of a nurse shark resting on the sea floor, one of the few sharks who can breathe without having to move. There is no danger, but it's best to keep a safe distance. Our turtle swims up again to take a breath, accompanied by the golden spadefish, who follow him, hoping for more edible cast-off. as opposed to this blue-spotted puffer who swims gently along the bottom, searching for food among the sediment. And these curious dancers, the pair of goby orange firefish, who never stray far from their home. Next door, among the recesses, we spot the large antennae of the banded coral shrimp, tiny, timid creatures who live among the rocks. As does this hermit crab, camouflaged among the stones. As we search for our guide, we come across the large blue-spotted puffer who was with us earlier. Our host takes the opportunity to show us how he swims, pushing himself along elegantly with his front legs, like oars, and using his back legs as a rudder to change direction. His hydrodynamic body is perfect for swimming and extremely strong. His seasonal journeys across the oceans are often more than 2,500 kilometers, although in Sipadan, most of the turtles are residents, thanks to the area being protected by man. Once again, we dive to these impressive platforms of coral, full of exuberant life. Our friend the octopus appears a little less timid and shows itself among the corals, another magnificent and agile swimmer, combining both attraction from its tentacles and the propulsion from jets of water. And if we look up, we can admire the different species who descend on the reef looking for food. An enormous bank of carangs, a family of fish with elongated bodies, their scales along the side of their bodies converted into spikes, swimming fast in the open waters, forming spectacular living spheres. And behind them, a small group of golden spadefish, descending to deeper chasms. Our trip along the Sipadan reef comes to an end, and with our turtle, we turn our backs on the reef and cast a last look at the immensity of the Big Blue, where we can find all manner of species of different size and colour, alone, in groups, or in large shoals, like these dog-toothed tuna. Or enormous barracuda who surround us. It is a whirlpool of life, a typical image of the protected reefs of Sipadan. The aquarium of the world, unrestrained and free.